Coming up, a critical new study released on the future of KCI, but will it change any minds? The second streetcar arrives, killing the earnings tax. No end to that tiff over tiff, and a side dish of truth on the Kansas budget. Hello, I'm Nick Haynes. It's good to be back. What with Thanksgiving and our holiday membership drive, we've been away a while, so we could build this program as Kansas City Month in Review. Up to the challenge, though, are our reviewers. He is the host of Up to Date, weekdays at 11 on KCUR-FM, Steve Kraske. Eric Wesson is a senior writer at the Call newspaper. Lynn Horsley covers City Hall for the Kansas City Star. And Steve Vokrot tracks the Metro's most important news happenings for The Pitch. Now, few local issues attract as much public attention, regardless of where you live in the Metro, as what should we do with the airport? This past July, the airlines led by Southwest made it clear that a brand new terminal would actually be cheaper to build than a major renovation of the existing terminals. Yet they never showed any figures to support that view. This week, those figures are revealed for the first time, and taking pen to paper, City Council members were told it would cost more than $1 billion to renovate KCI, but they insisted it would be at least $40 million cheaper to build a brand spanking new terminal. Now, we have the numbers. Does this settle the issue, Lynn?
Definitely not. Certainly not, especially because the public is still skeptical. We have a public in this area that loves KCI, or most people seem to love it the way it is. They don't want a lot of change. But we also have the reality of the era we live in with security demands, new technologies, new designs, more flexible designs, and the engineers are coming to a consensus, the airline engineers are coming to a consensus that they would rather build new.
Steve, did this study change anyone's mind?
Well, I think it probably, it's hard to say at this point. I mean, the cost differential, once you get into this $1 billion range, you know, the cost differential isn't huge between the various options. So I think the folks who want to see KCI stay the way it is, I don't know how much these numbers are going to really throw them. And we also don't really know much about where the numbers came from. I mean, we don't have like any itemization. It was all pretty on the surface when they discussed it yesterday. So
why is it when you put out figures like this, lay it out for people, does it not then have such a transformative effect on changing people's viewpoints? Is that because there's so much distrust on this issue, Steve?
There's a lot of distrust on this issue, and I second Steve's point about the fact that we need to see some itemization here. This struck me as kind of a PR move, and I think for those who want a new terminal up there, this was a significant step forward, because I think the thinking in the community has been, if you build new, it's going to cost way more than renovating the existing. These numbers clearly suggest otherwise, but it also strikes me that, hey, if you begin to build new for $964 million, you might see all kinds of cost overruns eventually that'll increase the price down the road. But for those who want a new terminal, this was a significant step forward.
Eric, did you learn anything new from this study on KCI this week?
Not really, and I agree with everyone else. And what's $40 million when you're talking about almost $1 billion? I think for most people, KCI is convenient. You don't have to get on a tram to go to another part of the airport, to get on a plane, to wait to baggage. You can just come out of the plane, go get your baggage, get on the shuttle, go to your car. It's about a 20-minute process compared to major airports with a lot of huge terminals. You got to get on this, get on that. And I think KCI is convenience. The vendors are saying we can't make any money because if we're in this terminal, the air traffic is slow, so we can't make any money. So I think it stays the way it is.
So what's the next step, Lynn?
Well, they are going to continue to refine the numbers, and they did promise to the council that they'll get them more detailed line items, which will, of course, be scrutinized. They're supposed to come back in May with a recommendation, but that's still going to require selling it to the city council, and then any decision will be voted on by the Kansas City residents, the Kansas City voters. So there'll have to be a really extensive education campaign if they ever hope to move forward with something that the public can embrace.
Also this week, the second of Kansas City's 4 new streetcars arrives, making its journey from Elmira, New York on a giant flatbed truck. You end your story, Lynn, with the line, the system is expected to begin serving the public sometime in the first half of 2016. Officials had always said they wanted the streetcar line on track to open in time for the Big 12 basketball tournament on March 9th. Are they fudging on that now?
Yes, I think that's still the goal, and it may still be possible. It depends on when we get cars 3 and 4, and we hope to do that after the first of the year. It depends on what kind of a winter we have, you know, how much they can run these cars up and down on the tracks. You know, so there is some fudging, but I don't think they've given up on the idea of having it ready in time for the Big 12.
Steve.
I think the city's probably going to be pretty cagey about saying a precise date at this point, because then it sets an expectation. If it gets pushed back, then people start to, like with the previous delay in the delivery of the vehicles.
Does it really matter, Steve Koreski?
You know, perhaps. It seems to me this is a pivotal moment for mass transit in the community, Nick. First impressions of this streetcar system are going to be so important. And that's why you're seeing the ticketing of cars. They don't want to see anything begin to cause obstacles for the progress of these streetcars up and down our city streets. So I think the city needs to be really careful here, manage these expectations, and make sure that when it does begin, that people have a really positive impression, because that's going to affect very, very dramatically any extension of this system going forward.
20 cars have already been ticketed. We've had 5 cars already towed because they're in the area where the streetcar would actually be coming down. Is this going to be an ongoing problem, that a car slightly out of the lines could halt the entire streetcar line, Eric?
Yes, that's going to be a problem.
The biggest problem is with the delivery trucks, because they're big and they're used to just parking wherever they want and kind of stalling there until they get their packages unloaded. And they really are big enough to block the tracks even when they're right by the street.
And I agree. And people from out of town that come in and park and they don't know to not stay on that white line. But when the car is coming and it stops like that, how far is it going to back up traffic? And what happens when a bus comes through? I think there's like one of those routes where an ATA bus will actually be on that same route. How is that going to be a delay with it as well?
I do think the buses are analyzing how to reroute so they're not interfering with the streetcar, and probably most of the traffic ultimately is going to migrate to other streets where they aren't going to risk getting stuck behind the streetcar. One thing people need to realize is this is not light rail, it's not zippity-doo-dah, it's right in the street, it stops at all the traffic signals. It stops multiple times at the streetcar stations, and so it will be, you know, what they hope a really well-used circulator, but it is not going to be a rapid transit method.
Well, we zippity-doo-dah to our next issue, because this week the City of Overland Park reins in its TIF program by restricting tax giveaways to older parts of the city. Meanwhile, in Kansas City, Missouri, there are complaints that the popular tax subsidy program operates with no restraints. This week, a group of parents in the Kansas City, Missouri School District submit the signatures to block tax subsidies for turning a vacant Crossroads building into the new headquarters for architecture firm BNIM. The building, owned by philanthropist and civic leader Shirley Hellsberg, is currently vacant. If the parents have enough signatures, what happens? Does it kill the project or simply put the issue to a public vote, Steve Vockrodt?
Well, technically it doesn't kill the project, and I mean that would happen if the public voted against it once it gets on the ballot. But with the architecture firm, they have a lease at their current building that expires in November, so they really need to get a move on starting construction on this building if they want to move into it. If you delay it with the uncertainty of a public vote, then yeah, that kind of does kill it, unless they can work out some sort of month by month or some other arrangement. But BNIM is in a pretty tricky spot with this whole controversy.
Okay, well, so what's at stake, Lynn?
Well, the future of a major architecture firm and whether they decide to stay in Kansas City, which I think the mayor is committed to having them stay, but it has raised a bigger question. Is downtown and the Crossroads vibrant enough now so that it doesn't need any more incentives? There's a major Tennessee firm that is building a $46 million hotel in downtown. They've said, hey, your downtown is great, we don't need any incentives. Other people say, no, the Crossroads isn't done. We still have a lot of work to do. We still have a lot of blight. And to eradicate this blight, we need these incentives. Shirley Hellsberg has said she has already invested tens of millions of dollars of her own money, and she feels like she's reached her limit as to how much she can invest, and she needs these incentives to make this project move forward.
But they could simply move to another city, the architecture firm, like in Johnson County, or as the head of the architecture firm said, he's from Western Independence, and his mother would love for him to come back there.
You know, I think Lynn is right. We're really at a very interesting pivot point here on this whole issue of TIF, Nick. This is a fight that's been brewing in this community for years. Such an interesting thing happened this week. The Overland Park City Council has decided that it will not grant TIF everywhere in the community, but maybe it just wants to reserve that for the older parts of the community. And that strikes me as, you know, this is a conservative city council in Overland Park, a business-oriented city council. These folks now are sitting back and saying, as Lynn is pointing out, that, hey, we're not going to provide TIF everywhere here, and that kind of conversation is going to be happening very much here in Kansas
Why,
City.
though, on this project, where are the howls of protest, the petition drives, as the Kansas City Council this week votes to approve TIF subsidies to transform the now shuttered Metro North Mall? Nearly 40% of the project's $186 million price tag coming from those subsidies. If the Crossroads is not considered a blighted enough area for critics, does the fast-growing Northland fit that criteria, Eric?
It gets back to the definition of blight. What is blight? What is a building on a plaza blight? So you get a tip for that. So I guess it gets back into the conversation of what is blight and how do you define it. But one of the things you said, what's at stake here, I think that what's at stake is the remainder of Sly James' term. With these referendum petitions coming out like clockwork whenever people want them, I think it's going to stagnate the council on things that they want to do progressively if 10 or 15 people say, hey, we don't want to do this. So I think it's very important on what's going to be going on the next 3 years.
It kind of depends on what people are flexing their political muscles. The Kansas City School District has been complaining about TIF for a number of years. The Northland school districts, which are the ones that are affected by the Metro North TIF, have managed to negotiate with developers terms that often are more, at least favorable enough that they don't oppose these developments. Now, with the Metro North TIF, the R3 school district, which is based in Platte City, did object. It's a pretty tiny school district. I don't know that they have, I'm not sure they can rally the Kansas City community to their cause.
Steve.
Lynn's exactly right. I mean, that's the big difference between the outcry in the BNIM issue and the relative lack of outcry in the Northland issue is that Northlanders feel like the schools aren't as compromised as Kansas City public schools, which tend to not be able to, have not been successful in crafting negotiations that create TIF deals that are better for them.
You know, it just strikes me that the proponents of TIF, folks who like this method for development in our community, have really fallen down when it comes to the public relations end of what they do. I mean, you can make a really powerful argument that, hey, developing in downtown Kansas City, Nick, costs a lot more money than developing out in southern Overland Park. That's why we have sprawl in our community. It's cheaper to build out there than it is downtown. And so when folks look at Shirley Hellsberg wanting a TIF, they think, oh, she's a rich, Kansas City, she doesn't need the help. Well, the issue is far more complicated than that when it comes to this particular building, and that's where the advocates of TIF have got to set up and begin explaining why this tool is so important.
And they're excerpting this piece of video and placing it on the TIF Commission website, Steve.
There you go.
An influential Missouri state senator has introduced legislation to kill the earnings tax in Kansas City and St. Louis. The 1% tax is levied on the incomes of anyone working in either city, whether you live there or not. So a plan to abolish the taxes of interest to people in Johnson County, Lee Summit, or Liberty, who are collectively bringing in about half the $234 million the tax brings in each year. Nearly 45% of that money goes to the city's general fund. The senator with the plan to kill the tax is Kurt Schaefer. He's chairman of the Senate Appropriations Committee, and he's from Columbia, Missouri. So why does he care that Kansas City and St. Louis raise money in this way, Steve?
Well, he said publicly that he doesn't think that the earnings tax is a good idea, that more money should go into the pockets of taxpayers, which is a common argument. He's also said that he was upset by Kansas City and St. Louis trying to work around state laws on minimum wage to pass higher minimum wage than state law allows. So he said he was unhappy about that. Some of the contacts I've spoken to in Jeff City and elsewhere think that he's maybe trying to get some leverage with this bill. There isn't a whole lot of promise, from what I understand, of it passing, which doesn't mean that people shouldn't keep an eye on it because it could. Crazier things have happened.
The tax has to be renewed anyway in April, isn't that correct? So isn't it conceivable that voters would kill the tax if they don't like it in April, Steve?
It's conceivable, and there's going to be an argument about this tax going forward. Dave Helling wrote a column this week in the Star sort of raising questions about how close this vote might actually be. Let me just suggest something about Kurt Schaefer's involvement here that people should be aware of. He, as you point out, is a senator from Columbia. In theory, he has no dog in this fight in Kansas City or St. Louis. Here's a number for you, Nick, $750,000. That's how much money Kurt Schaefer has received in campaign donations from a man named Rex Sinkfield, the conservative Republican benefactor in Missouri who very much hates the earnings tax and wants to see it defeated. Kurt Schaefer arguably is doing Rex Sinkfield's bidding here in Kansas City.
Well, isn't Kurt also running for Attorney General?
He's running for
This may be
yes.
an ego and a personal political campaign rather than really caring what happens to the earnings tax in Kansas City, Missouri.
Well, and my understanding too is that this is possibly a measure that's been introduced because of the St. Louis issue, trying to keep the Rams, the NFL team in St. Louis, and state legislators are unhappy about the city trying to involve state money into that process. And that could be some political jockeying on Kurt Schaefer's
We can get
part.
very fearful over issues, but really, I mean, at City Hall, are they really worried that this is actually going to happen, Lynn?
Well, I don't know if they're worried that it happens, but if it does, it's really going to be difficult for the city's budget. The earnings tax is 40% of the general fund. It pays for a lot of the police and firefighters. The vote in April would be to eliminate the earnings tax over 10 years. I think Kurt Schaefer's proposal is to eliminate the earnings tax by 2017. And the fear is there's no way to replace that level of funding in 1 year. I think property taxes and sales taxes would have to skyrocket, and they require a public vote too. So the alternative is to demolish a lot of public services.
Why do you only hear horror stories about how Kansas Governor Sam Brownback is bankrupting the state? Between Black Friday ads and recycled headlines, you won't be reading this tremendous economic news in your local paper. Kansas added more than 10,000 private sector jobs in the last 2 months, bringing its unemployment rate to the lowest in 14 years. I'm reading from a news release from the governor's office titled A Side Dish of Truth, which points to how in November Kansas collected nearly $8 million more in taxes than anticipated, with both income and sales taxes exceeding expectations. Is Kansas finally making a financial turnaround, Steve Kraske?
No, Nick, and that's a bunch of hokum. Let me just point out that that $8 million increase is based on a new set of projected revenue numbers that were lowered in recent months, so it doesn't really mean all that much. And secondly, job growth in Kansas continues to lag, Nick. 1.2% over the past year growth in Kansas, 1.9% nationally compared to the national average. We're not where we need to be. Why is Kansas's unemployment rate so low? That's because the number of jobs, the labor force has contracted in Kansas. Not as many folks looking for work in Kansas as there used to be. So Governor Brownback's numbers, he can spin them all he wants. There are still huge issues in that state.
Steve Orcutt, how did you digest these latest numbers?
Well, much of the same way that Steve did. Just to look at the unemployment rate is a misleading and often misunderstood economic indicator that tells a very small sliver of a story. And there's kind of a linkage between our last discussion and this. I mean, Lynn mentioned that if you got rid of the earnings tax all at once, the calamity that it would result in KCMO finances. And for an example of that, you need to look no further than Kansas, which did more or less the same thing when they got rid of income taxes for about 300,000 businesses. And you see the effect that it's had. You see the effect that it's had on state finances. So it's a little tough for Brownback to make the case that there's this economic resurgence in Kansas that's extraordinary in any measure.
Coming up next, from Muslim terrorists to mass shootings, how global news events are shaping our region. The Missouri governor may have been in the thick of holiday celebrations, but he tackles serious issues too this week, telling reporters he doesn't predict the terror attacks in Paris and California will trigger a backlash against Muslims in the state. And he doesn't think the mass shooting in San Bernardino or in Colorado Springs will lead to any changes in Missouri gun laws. In Kansas, Governor Brownback distancing himself from Donald Trump's remarks this week about blocking Muslims from entering the country.
Well, I disagree with it. I question its constitutionality as well.
Mayor Sly James goes a step further.
It's inflammatory, it's nonsense, it's unconstitutional, it's illegal, and frankly, it's just plain flat out wrong.
Across town in Overland Park area, faith leaders meet to condemn the presidential candidate's comments.
The entire foundation of our country has been built upon the idea of opening our doors to those who are in need and who are the most vulnerable in society.
Faith leaders make their case too in Jefferson City.
What a shame it would be if we allowed that fear to overcome our desire to help refugees, especially those fleeing ISIS.
Also this week, a sizable group of Kansas City Muslims marched to disavow Islamic terrorism.
99% of the Islam world condemn terrorists, and the terrorist is very minority in Islam.
They have nothing to do with Islam. We clearly want to make sure that those people don't belong to us.
While there's lots of words being thrown around, is there any change in policy or laws in Kansas or Missouri as a result of this whirlwind of these headlines-grabbing news events, Steve Kraske?
You know, I don't know, Nick. It doesn't appear to be any earth-shattering changes coming forward. I was really struck by one thing, though, this week. Senator Roy Blunt of Missouri came out for a bill, a gun control bill, that says if you're a foreigner coming into the country without a visa, the current law says, you know, you can buy a weapon. He's coming out and saying he would support a bill that would say you can't buy a weapon. Democrats painting this whole idea that, hey, under current law, terrorists can come into the country and buy weapons very easily. This is the first chink in the armor for the anti-gun control crowd that I've seen in a long time. A conservative senator facing re-election coming out and saying, yeah, I could support this kind of change that might be a sign that maybe some gun control is on the horizon here.
Eric.
I don't think there will be any policy changes, but the interesting and most disturbing and alarming part is how much, since Donald Trump made those statements, he's gone up in the polls.
He's gone up, yeah.
Yeah, he's gone up. So is this what people are really thinking behind closed doors and he's saying, and they're agreeing with the method in which he's doing it? I think that's the most troubling part of what's going on with it. As far as gun control, I think we've got a lot more issues going on with gun control rather than foreigners, as they call them, being able to obtain handguns, because everything begins with a thought. We have to think about the way these people are thinking that are committing these crimes.
If you don't do what you say, should you be held accountable? The Metro's largest hospital chain is paying a high price for not delivering on its commitments. A judge this week ordering HCA, which owns Research Hospital, Menorah and Overland Park Regional Medical Center, to pay out $434 million to the Healthcare Foundation of Greater Kansas City. What did HCA do so wrong? Well, according to a judge, when the company bought the former Health Midwest hospitals in 2003, they agreed to maintain and invest in those facilities. The Healthcare Foundation argued in court that has not happened. But $434 million, there are companies who are liable for the deaths of people in their workplaces who haven't had settlements of $434 million, Steve.
Right, so to break down that cost a little bit, a big portion of it, 167 million of that 434 million, comes from interest, which the judge in this case determined should be calculated through compounded annually interest rather than simple interest. And anybody who looks at their retirement plan savings statements understands the difference and how big that can be financially.
Well, HCA saying they're going to appeal this because they've also invested hugely in building new hospitals, hundreds of millions of dollars, including Centerpoint in Independence and Lee Summit Medical Center. That should count for something as well, Steve.
Well, and they have their argument, Nick, and it's a good one. But having said that, boy, this ruling against HCA and in favor of the Healthcare Foundation, this is a huge win for the foundation, Nick. This is everything they asked for. They've won it all. We'll see what happens here on appeal. It's going to be a while till we find out.
People ask all the time, who is moving into those huge houses that keep sprouting up in southern Johnson County? Who's got all that money to be living in these massive homes? Well, the same question could be asked this week in Kansas City. who's got the money to be living in these luxurious new apartments that keep opening downtown? This week, the luxurious One Light Tower opens, the first residential high-rise in close to 40 years in Kansas City. The $80 million project with more than 300 upscale living spaces is already almost fully filled, and a second 24-story tower just as big is getting ready to break ground next to it. This is close to 12th and Main, by the way. Living there will cost you up to $3,750 a month to rent. And there's enough people to fork over that type of money, Steve?
Well, I would hope so for their sake. I mean, it's certainly not going to be me moving into those. It's a little rich for my blood.
Best place in the joint.
It's the millennials, it's
hardly.
empty nesters, it's people who, the high-tech folks, people that want a real urban lifestyle where they don't have to have a car necessarily, and where, you know, downtown fortunately finally has a grocery store and a lot of great nightlife. So I think
And
it's
a
folks.
streetcar.
Well, the streetcar's coming, so that's what they're saying they want.
But with another tower coming up right next to it, are we overbuilding, or is this already a sort of underserved market, Steve Okra?
Well, the rush to downtown, you know, you hear some of the discussion, they treat it like it's something new that young people and empty nesters want to live in urban areas. And in Kansas City, that's true because you never had that opportunity before, but that's been going on in other places for a long time. There is some concern about, you know, whether, because it's not just this One Light and this Two Light tower that are coming up. I mean, there are residential, market rate residential that are coming up all over downtown. So there's a question going forward, and we're just going to have to watch and see how much absorption happens. And there's also another policy question about, should there also be more mixed income affordable housing in the downtown core, because a lot of that's starting to get pushed out of the urban core.
And how trendy is this going to be? This year, next year, maybe 3 years, this is a hot thing. Then in 5 years, they can't give those apartments away, and you're stuck with all of this tax money tied up in these buildings.
And that is our Week in Review. Our thanks to our news reviewers from The Pitch, Steve Okrot, and The Calls, Eric Wesson. Keeping you up to date weekdays 11 to noon on KCUR-FM, Steve Kraske, and from the Kansas City Star, Lynn Horsley. I'm Nick Haynes. From all of us here at KCPT, thanks for spending part of your weekend with us.